The memories that I have at 1406 Orange Street. The great Althea Gibson trained and lived here under the tutelage of Dr. Hubert Eaton. She was already a very, very good tennis player. And he took her out of the slums of Harlem, gave her a chance to succeed in life.
This court behind me means everything to me.
This was the only place that we could play.
I started my tennis career here at age 5 when Althea handed me my first tennis racket. She called me champ, and I've never forgotten that.
I still don't think that Althea has gotten her due in being the first African American to win a major championship, even to this very day. Without doing what she did, the Jackie Robinson of tennis, there would have been no Arthur Ashe. There wouldn't have been any Serena and Venus. She was the beginning of it all. One Love was a vision of mine to try to make a difference in this community, just like Dr. Eaton did it.
We are restoring this court and bringing it back exactly like it was,
to make sure that this legacy will continue to change lives. One day, I was having a conversation with my kids about history. How many of them know who Althea Gibson was? How many of them knew that there was a world champion that lived right in this town? No one hardly knew. We showed the girls the Althea Gibson documentary, and they were so upset after watching that. They felt that there was nothing in the United States of America to honor Althea Gibson. I said, you have the right to be upset and angry. Let's do something about it. They said, well, look, Coach Lenny, what in the world can we do? I mean, we're 5th, 6th, 7th graders. I said, let's write some letters. Katrina Adams of the USTA, she will listen to you. 40 girls wrote 40 letters.
Dear Miss Katrina Adams.
Dear Miss Katrina Adams.
Dear Miss Katrina Adams.
Althea Gibson needs something to remember her by because she was the first African American woman to play in the U.S. Open.
Miss Althea Gibson was the first ever
to win Wimbledon.
Someone like Althea Gibson should never be forgotten, especially because she was and still is a big part of change.
She paved the way for myself and other people, so I think she needs to have something like a statue.
So can you please make this happen? It would mean a lot.
And lo and behold, wouldn't you know, Katrina Adams came in here for a fundraiser. I had the girls read their letters to Katrina.
This is something that has been talked about over time to honor Althea Gibson in some way. But their letters pushed it over the edge. It really showed that there are other people out there and kids that understood the importance. We had a board meeting, they approved it. We quickly started searching for artists. August 26th, we'll be erecting the Althea Gibson Monument out at the USCA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center.
They will forever, these young girls, be a part of this history.
These kids will be able to come back to the US Open, see the statue and say, wow, I actually had something to do with this.
Pretty cool that sculpture was unveiled this past August, and the sculptor said he has her emerging from a box because the world could not keep her in a box. Her shoulder exposed because that's the shoulder everybody since has stood on. Powerful words, Lindsay. Should she be higher on this list because of her immense historical impact?
Oh, absolutely. And that's the issue with some of these lists is how much do you take into accomplishments and how much do you think they change the sport. They change the world also. And Althea Gibson would be in the top 3 or 4 on the list of people who have contributed to the sport and who have paved the way. We talk about her tennis career. She also went on to become a professional golfer. You're talking about someone who was not as scared to put herself on the line and go for it. And I was reading about her the other night, and I had this great quote from Billie Jean King. The road to success was a challenging one, but I never saw her back down. I don't know. I love that quote about Althea and everything that she's accomplished and everyone that she's inspired. She should be at the top of the list.
You know, I think Lindsay hits the nail on the head about, first of all, the social impact and the impact outside of tennis, which is so hard to measure. And that's why these lists, remember, they're subjective. They're for a conversation. They're for us to talk about, to debate, for you to think about at home. And these numbers are merely that, numbers. But Althea Gibson had such a broad impact across the globe in sports. And I think that when you see someone that creates basically a situation where they transcend their sport to the world stage, and they do it at a level that she did before social media, before everything else, that's one thing. And then to be able to be a good enough athlete to play another professional sport, golf, 5 major titles, 2-time finalist at the U.S. Open. You know, she was a trendsetter, and she really broke the mold and got out first in the gates to show everybody what it should be like. She should definitely be a lot higher.
I completely agree. She should definitely be a lot higher. And I think what we all need to focus on is the fact that the time period that she played. I mean, you look at the 1950s, this is even before Muhammad Ali made his mark. And, you know, this is a time of, segregation, and, it's so different to, all the opportunities that are available now. And of course, we do have a long way to go still. But I mean, the 1950s is a time we couldn't have really imagined. And for her to even have the belief and the thought process to, I want to step into this sport, which is largely a white sport, and I want to come in and make my impact as a female and African American. Just that thought process alone is so revolutionary and inspiring. And then for her to have the success she had, it gives me goosebumps just talking about it.
It really is inspiring. What an impact she had. What Jackie Robinson did for baseball, Althea Gibson did for the sport of tennis. Here is Althea Gibson on our list of the 100 greatest players of all time.
This next great was the first African American to win a major tournament. At 39, Althea Gibson.
Althea used to really intimidate the players. Big topspin serve, get in and cover that net. Hard to go by her, or over her, or through her. I got to see her when I was 13. She was an inspiration.
Obviously, she was a groundbreaker as the first African-American of either sex to win a major title. And that, of course, was the French of '56. So that's her historical impact. But Althea Gibson was formidable.
She wasn't allowed in to play against other players. She only was allowed to play against black players until she was in her mid-20s. It wasn't until she'd been on the circuit for quite a few years that she tamed down and became more steady.
She excelled on the grass, winning back-to-back Wimbledon and U.S. Championship titles in '57 and '58. Shortly afterwards, she decided to drop her amateur status to earn money for exhibitions and later turned to golf. Through her talent and determination, Althea inspired greatness and opened the door for minorities looking to follow in her footsteps.